You're not family anymore. Those were the words that came through the phone, just days before I was asked to pay for the wedding I was no longer welcome at. What would you do if your family suddenly decided you didn't belong? Share your story in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to see what happens next. The phone rang on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting at my office desk looking at lots of papers. They were quarterly reports, which are long papers about how well the business is doing. I almost didn't answer the phone because the number was unknown, but something told me to pick it up. "Hello, is this Celeste Navarro?" a woman's voice said. Her voice sounded professional, like she did this kind of work a lot, but she also sounded a little nervous. "Yes, this is Celeste," I replied. "I'm Marissa Hale from Pristine Events," she said. "I'm the person planning your brother Adrian's wedding at the Ocean View Grand Resort." I put down my coffee cup slowly. Adrian had not spoken to me in months. Not since the last family dinner, when he told me I wasn't welcome at family gatherings anymore. He had said it in a way that left no doubt. "Okay," I said carefully. "What do you need?" Marissa sounded uncomfortable. "Well, this is awkward. My parents called me this morning. They said they want me to remove you from the guest list entirely. They said, and I quote, 'She's not family anymore and isn't needed at this celebration.'" I leaned back in my leather office chair and looked out of my big window. From up here, I could see all the tall buildings in the city. The sunlight reflected on the glass towers. I took a deep breath and nodded even though Marissa couldn't see me. "I see. And what did you tell them?" I asked. "I told them I'd handle it professionally. I'm calling all the guests personally to let them know," she said. "That's very considerate of you, Marissa. Can I ask you something else?" "Of course," she said. "Are you happy with the Ocean View Grand Resort? Is everything ready and going well for the wedding?" Marissa sounded surprised. "Oh yes. The place is beautiful. The staff is incredible. The buildings are fancy and clean. We are lucky it is available next Saturday because it usually gets booked months ahead of time." "That's wonderful to hear," I said. "I'm glad Adrian chose a nice place." I picked up my phone and opened my contacts. "Marissa, I need to make a quick call. Can I call you back in about 10 minutes? "Sure, that's fine," she said. "I'm really sorry about this situation. It must be hard for you." After I hung up, I called my assistant. "Maria, I need you to connect me with Victor Langston at the Ocean View Grand Resort immediately." "Right away, Ms. Navarro," Maria said. Within 2 minutes, Victor, the general manager of the resort, was on the phone. He knew I might call because I sometimes check on big events at the resort. "Celeste, I got your message about the wedding this weekend. How do you want me to handle this?" he asked. "Victor," I said, "call the wedding planner, Marissa Hale, and tell her that due to a scheduling conflict, the resort needs to cancel the Navarro wedding. Give a full refund for all deposits. Explain that a last-minute corporate event requires the entire resort." "Understood. Should I offer other dates?" "No. Make it clear we are unable to accommodate any future bookings for this particular client." And, I added, "Please also tell our other 6 resort locations in the area that we cannot host this wedding there either." "I will handle it immediately. Anything else?" Victor asked. "Yes," I said. "When you speak to Marissa Hale, make sure to say that this decision came directly from the chain's owner. Do not give any extra explanation." "Of course, Ms. Navarro. Consider it done," he said. I hung up and waited. Exactly 8 minutes later, my phone rang. "Miss Navarro, this is Marissa Hale again," she said. "I just received a very unexpected call from the resort." "Oh, what did they say?" I asked. "They are canceling the wedding. They said a corporate event needs the entire facility. No alternative dates. No other locations. Nothing," she said. Her voice sounded stressed. "That is terrible, Marissa. What exactly did the manager say?" "He said the decision came from the chain's owner. He was very apologetic but firm. I have a wedding for 200 people in 5 days and no venue. I don't know what to do," she said. "That does sound challenging. Did they give you any other information?" "Not really, just that it was a corporate decision from someone high up," she said. She paused, then said slowly, "Wait, did you say your last name was Navarro? Like the wedding?" "Yes, my brother Adrian's wedding," I said. "Oh my God, Navarro, I need to ask you something, and please forgive me if it sounds crazy, but do you happen to know anyone who works with this resort chain? Any connections that might help us understand what happened?" I smiled and looked at a framed photo on my desk. It was from the ribbon-cutting ceremony when I had acquired the Ocean View Resort chain 3 years ago. "Marissa, I can share something with you," I said. "The corporate buyout they mentioned, that's my company. I'm the owner of the entire Ocean View resort chain. The line went completely silent for almost 10 seconds. You own the resort chain? All 7 properties in the region? She asked slowly. Yes, I said. I acquired them through my investment firm 3 years ago. But your family, they said you weren't family anymore. They made it sound like you weren't successful, she said softly. I laughed lightly. Marissa, can I ask you to do something for me? Yes, of course, she said. Could you conference my brother in? I think there has been a miscommunication in my family that needs clearing up. Are you sure? I mean, I'm just the wedding planner. This seems very personal, she said. Trust me, Marissa. This is the best way to handle it, I said. A few minutes later, Adrian's voice joined the call. Marissa, what's going on? Please tell me you found a solution for the venue crisis, he said. Adrian, your sister Celeste is on the line with us, Marissa said. What? Why? His tone immediately turned cold. Marissa called to let me know I had been removed from the guest list, I said calmly. Good. I'm glad she handled it professionally. We don't need any drama or attention-seeking behavior at my wedding, Adrian said. I agree, no drama is important for such a special day, I said. Marissa's voice was tentative. Adrian, there's something else we need to discuss about the venue. This cancellation, it's serious. Find us another high-end location. Money isn't an object. This is my wedding to Isabel, and it needs to be perfect. Adrian started talking quickly. Adrian, can I ask you something? When you booked the Ocean View Grand Resort, did you research who owns it? I asked. What does it matter? He said sharply. It matters because it's not just some big corporation. The owner is your sister, I said gently. The line went silent again. That's impossible, Adrian finally said. Celeste works a normal office job. She lives in a tiny apartment and drives a 10-year-old car. Adrian, I said, I live in a downtown penthouse. I usually take car service places because I work during commutes. The car you've seen is just my weekend car for grocery runs. This is ridiculous. Stop making things up for attention, he said sharply. Marissa, could you please read the exact message you received from the resort's general manager? I asked. There was a sound of papers rustling. Due to a corporate decision from the chain owner, we cannot accommodate the Navarro wedding at any of our 7 regional locations, she said, reading slowly. 7 locations? Adrian asked slowly, his voice changing. Yes, Adrian. The Ocean View chain has 7 luxury resorts in our area, I explained. This includes the Grand Resort where your wedding was planned, Ocean View Palms where Isabel's bridal shower was held last month, and Ocean View Marina where your rehearsal dinner was booked. Another long silence followed. Celeste, Adrian said slowly, are you telling me you own all of those places? Yes. I acquired the entire chain in 2021 through Navarro Hospitality Holdings, my investment company. I named it after our family, I said calmly. Marissa's voice started to grow stronger as she began to understand the situation. Ms. Navarro, when the general manager said the owner made this decision personally. That was you? Yes, I said. After Marissa called to tell me my family had decided I wasn't family anymore, I chose to respect that decision by not hosting family events at my properties. This can't be real, Adrian said. His voice had lost its certainty. There was a long pause. He didn't know what to say. The sounds of the city outside my window felt far away. Finally, Adrian spoke quietly. Celeste. I didn't know. I had no idea. Yes, Adrian. That's why I asked to join this call, I said gently. I want us to understand each other and fix the miscommunication. It doesn't have to be about money or status. It's about family. Marissa sighed, relieved. Ms. Navarro, I think I understand now. Everything makes sense. I will handle the wedding with this new information carefully. Adrian's voice cracked slightly. Celeste. I don't know what to say. I treated you like you weren't part of the family, and I judged you by what I saw, not what you really are. I'm sorry. I smiled softly. Adrian, let's just start fresh. We can fix this. And don't worry about the resort. We'll make sure the wedding goes beautifully, even if things need to be moved around a little. There was a pause on the line as Adrian absorbed everything. Then he said quietly, Thank you, Celeste. I really didn't understand before. I see now that I was wrong. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For so long, my family had misunderstood me, judged me for what they thought I was, not what I truly am. But now maybe things could change. Marissa spoke again, excited but careful. Ms. Navarro, Adrian, I can start calling alternative venues immediately. With Celeste's connections and her ownership of the resorts, We can actually make this wedding even more special than anyone imagined. Yes, I said. Let's focus on making it perfect. And let's remember, family comes first no matter what. Adrian's voice sounded a little warmer. Okay, Celeste. I understand now. Thank you for showing me the truth. The city outside my window glowed in the late afternoon sun. I realized that sometimes people judge based on appearances and rumors. But the truth always comes out. And sometimes it can fix what seemed broken forever. If you own this chain, prove it. Marissa, are you still there? Yes, I'm Navarro, Marissa answered. Could you please call the Ocean View Grand Resort back? Ask for Victor Langston, the general manager. Tell him we need to confirm some things about who owns the resorts. Should I hang up now? No, wait. Try using three-way calling so Adrian can hear the conversation too, I said. A few minutes later, a familiar voice joined the line. Good afternoon. This is Victor Langston, the man said politely. Hi, Mr. Langston, Marissa said. I'm Marissa Hale from Pristine Events. I'm here with Adrian Navarro and his sister, Celeste Navarro. There seems to be some confusion about who owns your resort chain. No confusion here, Victor said in a calm and professional voice. Miss Celeste Navarro is the sole owner of all the Ocean View Resort properties. She bought our chain in 2021 and has done a fantastic job managing them. Is there anything specific you need to know? Adrian's voice came out very quiet. How much did those resorts cost? He asked, barely a whisper. Victor paused. I'm not sure I should discuss exact financial numbers, but it was a very big acquisition. Over $200 million for the entire chain. The line went completely silent except for Adrian's heavy breathing. I could almost hear him trying to process the news. Mr. Navarro, Victor continued, I understand there was some confusion about your wedding booking. Ms. Navarro has instructed us to provide a full refund, which we're processing immediately. Adrian, I said gently, are you still there? Celeste. I don't understand. How do you own a $200 million resort chain? Where did that money come from? He asked, his voice full of shock. I started building my investment portfolio in college, Celeste explained. I began with small property investments and slowly grew from there. The resort chain was my largest acquisition, but I also have investments in other businesses and industries as well. But Mom and Dad said you were struggling, Adrian said, his voice cracking. They said your business ideas never worked out. They said that because I don't talk about my work with the family, Celeste said softly. Every time I tried to share my successes, the response was dismissive, or the conversation quickly changed to someone else's achievements. So I just let them think what they wanted. It became easier than arguing. Marissa's voice was quiet. Should I leave you two alone to talk privately? Actually, Marissa, I have a question for you, I said. How quickly could you find an alternative venue for Adrian's wedding? Marissa hesitated. Ms. Navarro, with only 5 days' notice and 200 guests, it would be nearly impossible to find a venue as nice as the Ocean View Grand. What if I told you I could guarantee a venue that is even more exclusive? Adrian's voice was sharp. Celeste, what are you doing? I'm being a good sister, Adrian, I said. Marissa, there's an 8th Ocean View property that is not open to public bookings. It's my private resort on Catalina Island. I use it for executive retreats and special occasions. Marissa's voice went up an octave in surprise. A private island resort? But that's amazing. How big is it? 40 acres, I said. It has a private beach, a helicopter pad, and can host up to 300 guests. There's a full catering staff, event coordination, luxury accommodations for the wedding party, and immediate family. Everything you need for a perfect wedding. Adrian's voice was strained. Why would you do that, after everything we said? Because you are still my brother, I said gently. And Isabel deserves a beautiful wedding, no matter what happened before. I don't know what to say, Adrian whispered, his voice soft and shaky. You don't need to say anything right now, I said. You're probably in shock. Here's what I propose. You and Isabel can have your wedding at my private resort. All expenses covered. Full luxury service. Helicopter transport for the bridal party. Everything you dreamed of and even more. Marissa was clearly taking notes quickly. Ms. Navarro, this is incredibly generous. But, is there any condition? Yes, I said. I want to be invited to the wedding. There was silence for almost 15 seconds. Of course, Adrian finally whispered. You're invited today. We need to talk, really talk. We will, I said. But first, let's make sure you have the wedding of your dreams. Marissa, Can you handle coordinating with my events team for the island property? Absolutely, M. Navarro. This is the most incredible turnaround I have ever experienced in my career, Marissa said excitedly. Victor, are you still on the line? I asked. Yes, Miss Navarro, he replied. I'll make sure the helicopter transport from your marina location to the island is seamless for all guests. After we finished coordinating all the logistics, Marissa and Victor left the call, leaving just Adrian and me on the line. Celeste, Adrian said quietly, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. Adrian, we both made mistakes, I said gently. I should have been more open about my success, and you should have asked more questions instead of making assumptions. But we got here, and that's what matters. I know, he said. We all treated you terribly. Mom, Dad, and I thought you were struggling to pay rent. I let them think that because every time I tried to share good news, it was ignored or minimized. It became easier to let them think what they wanted. How successful are you really? He asked, his voice soft. I looked around my office at the city view, the photos from various business acquisitions, charity events, and the projects I had completed over the years. My net worth is around $400 million, I said calmly. Adrian's voice trailed off. $400 million? That's incredible. The resort chain is just one part of my portfolio, I explained. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he whispered, Celeste, you're incredibly successful. I've been fortunate and I've worked very hard, but I thought you were still figuring out real life. I figured out life differently than the family expected, I said softly. But I did figure it out. Adrian's voice was soft. The wedding invitation, that wasn't my idea. Mom and Dad convinced me that having you there would create drama. They thought you'd make it about yourself. When have I ever tried to make family events about myself? I asked. Never, he said. Exactly. I show up. I support everyone. I keep my life private. But you interpreted that as failure instead of discretion, I explained. It seems that way, he said quietly. Celeste, he continued. Can we start over? Can our family start over with you? I'd like that, Adrian. But it has to be genuine. No more assumptions about my life or my choices. And when I share something I'm proud of, I need it to be received with the same enthusiasm the family shows for everyone else's achievements. Absolutely, he said. And Celeste, Isabel, and we want to make this right. All of us. Then let's start with giving you both the most beautiful wedding celebration possible, I said. Adrian looked worried. Celeste, that's too generous. We can't accept something that expensive. I smiled, looking out at the city I had helped reshape through my investments. Adrian, it's not about the money. It's about family. And despite everything that's happened, you're still my family. We don't deserve this kindness, he said quietly. Maybe not, I replied. But you're getting it anyway. That's what family does. I need to call Isabel. Mom and Dad, they need to know, Adrian said. Wait, I said. Let me suggest something. Don't tell them about my business success yet. Let's just say the venue got resolved. After the wedding, when everyone's relaxed and happy, we can have a family conversation about everything else. You're probably right, he said. You've always been the smart one in the family. We're all smart in different ways, Adrian. We just haven't been very good at recognizing that in each other, I said. 3 days later, I stood on the deck of my private resort, watching the sun set over the Pacific Ocean. The final preparations for Adrian's wedding were completed, and the island looked absolutely magical. Thousands of white lights were strung between the palm trees, elegant chairs were arranged on the beach, and a dance floor was positioned perfectly to overlook the ocean. Isabel cried when she first saw the setup. Celeste, this is more beautiful than anything I ever imagined, she said, her voice trembling with happiness. Mom and Dad had been quiet since arriving. They seemed overwhelmed by the luxury and exclusivity of the venue. They kept asking questions about how I had arranged such an elaborate location, and I kept giving vague answers about having connections. The ceremony itself was perfect. Adrian's vows made everyone's eyes fill with tears, and Isabel looked absolutely radiant in her dress. As they exchanged rings with the ocean as their backdrop, I felt genuine happiness for them, something I hadn't expected after everything that had happened. During the reception, my father came up to me at the bar. Celeste, this place. How did you manage to secure something like this? It must have cost more than most people's houses. How are we going to pay for this? I smiled, sipping my champagne. Don't worry about the cost. It's all handled. But Celeste, you can't afford something like this. Nobody can, except maybe billionaires, he said. Dad nodded, but I could see the questions turning in his mind. He was thinking about how much effort and planning it must have taken. I looked out at the ocean, the lights, and the happy faces of everyone celebrating. Tonight was about Adrian and Isabel, and I was glad that we had managed to make it perfect. Later, we could talk about business, money, and family issues. But for now, everyone could just enjoy the day. Later during the dancing, my mom pulled me aside. She looked nervous, like she had been holding something in for a long time. "Celeste, I need to apologize about the invitation problem," she said softly. "Adrian told me what happened with the wedding planner." "It's okay, Mom," I said, trying to be calm. "No, it's not okay," she said, shaking her head. "We made wrong guesses about you, about your life, and we were wrong to leave you out. We can talk about it tomorrow. Tonight should be about celebrating." "But I feel really bad," I told her. "You made this amazing party for Adrian, and we treated you so badly." I looked around at the fairy tale setting. The lights sparkled over the tables. Flowers in bright colors filled the room. Adrian and Isabel were dancing under the stars. The music played softly, and everyone was laughing and smiling. I hardly ever saw my family this happy. It made my chest feel warm. "Mom," I said, "seeing everyone happy like this is worth it. Family is messy sometimes, but it's still family. You are better than any of us deserved." She wiped a tear from her cheek. "We all make mistakes," she said. "What matters is what we do next." The next morning, the whole family gathered for brunch on the resort's main terrace. The sun was shining, the ocean sparkled, and the smell of fresh coffee and baked pastries filled the air. Everyone still looked happy from the wedding celebration. "So," my dad said, setting down his coffee cup, "I think it's time for an honest family conversation." Adrian and Isabel exchanged nervous glances. "Dad, there are some things about Celeste that we need to talk about," Adrian said carefully. "Like how she managed to arrange all of this luxury, and other things too." I took a deep breath. Before anyone says anything, I want to make something very clear. I didn't arrange this celebration to make anyone feel bad. I did it because I love this family, even though we sometimes don't communicate very well. "Communication problems?" my mom asked, raising an eyebrow. "Mom, when was the last time you really asked me about my work? Not just polite conversation, but really asked." She was quiet for a long moment. "I guess I thought if something important happened, you'd tell us." "I tried too many times," I said. "But every time I shared good news about my business, the conversation switched to someone else's achievements. Or I was told I was being unrealistic." My dad frowned. "That's not true. We've always been supportive." "Dad, 2 months ago, I tried to tell you about a big business thing I did," I said. "You told me I should focus on getting a normal job with benefits instead of chasing my dreams." Isabel spoke up softly. "What kind of big thing?" I looked around the table at my family. These are people I loved, even though we didn't always understand each other. "I bought a chain of luxury resorts for $200 million, I said calmly. The silence was so thick, it felt like we were underwater. $200 million? My mom whispered, her eyes wide. "The Ocean View Resort chain," I continued. 7 properties, including the one where you originally booked the wedding. Adrian leaned forward, his eyes curious. "Celeste, tell them more." "I own the resort we are sitting on right now," I said. "This is my private island." My dad slowly put down his coffee cup. His hands were shaking slightly. "Your private island, along with other properties, technology companies, and financial investments. How much is all of this worth?" he asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. "My total net worth is about $400 million, I said. My mom stared at me for a long moment. $400 million? She whispered again. "Yes. And we told people you were struggling. We worried about your future. We excluded you from family events because we thought you were unsuccessful," I said gently. "I know," my dad said, his voice quiet. "How long have you had this level of success?" he asked, still shocked. "I've been building my portfolio for 8 years, I said. "The biggest growth happened in the last 4 years. 8 years, he repeated, shaking his head. "And we never knew because every time I tried to share it, we were dismissed or told to be more realistic." Isabel reached across the table and held my hand. "Celeste, this explains so much," she said softly. "You have this quiet confidence that I always admired but couldn't understand. I learned early that my family wasn't really interested in hearing about my business success. So I stopped sharing it," I admitted. My mom's tears fell freely now. "We failed you so completely," she whispered. "You didn't fail me, Mom," I said. "We just had different ideas of success and never tried to understand each other." But we left you out of your brother's wedding because we thought you were an embarrassment. Adrian's voice shook. And instead, you are the most successful person in our entire extended family. Success isn't just about money, I said gently. You've all built relationships, careers, and families. Those are successes too. But yes, I also have money. My father was still trying to understand. $400 million, Celeste, that's generational wealth. Yes, I said. And I intend to use it responsibly, including helping my family when it is appropriate. My mom looked up through her tears. Dad, your accounting firm has been struggling since the recession, right? He nodded slowly. What if I told you I could connect you with clients who need exactly the kind of personalized service you provide? Small to medium-sized businesses that want personal attention over big corporate firms. You would do that after how we treated you? My dad asked, his voice filled with surprise and emotion. You're my father. Of course I would, I said simply. I turned to my mom. Mom, your nonprofit work with literacy programs. What's your biggest challenge right now? Funding, she said immediately. We have volunteers and people who need our help, but not enough resources to expand our programs. What if funding wasn't a problem? What if you had enough resources to do every program you dreamed of? I asked. Her eyes widened. Celeste, you can't just solve our problems with money. I'm not solving your problems, I said. I'm offering resources so you can solve them yourselves. There's a difference. Adrian shook his head in amazement. Celeste, you're talking about changing our entire family's future. I'm talking about what families do for each other when they have the resources and the opportunity, I said. But we don't deserve this, my father said firmly. We treated you terribly. Deserve is a complicated word, Dad, I said. Do any of us really deserve the good things that happen? Or do we just try to be grateful and use our opportunities responsibly? Isabel wiped away her tears. You're incredible. The way you're handling this, the grace you're showing. I've never seen anything like it. I've had time to think about this moment, I admitted. I knew eventually the truth about my success would come out. I decided long ago that when it did, I wanted to handle it with love instead of anger. My mother reached for my hands. How do we make this right? How do we rebuild our relationship with you? By starting fresh, I said. By asking questions instead of making assumptions. By celebrating each other's successes instead of minimizing them. By being a family that lifts each other up instead of tearing each other down. Can you forgive us? My father asked. I looked around the table at these imperfect people who had raised me, supported me in their own limited ways, and yes, sometimes hurt me with their assumptions. But they were also the people who taught me values, encouraged my education, and shaped me into someone capable of building the success I'd achieved. There's nothing to forgive, Dad, I said. There's only moving forward together. Adrian raised his champagne glass. To moving forward together, and to Celeste, who taught us what real grace looks like. As we toasted, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Genuine connection. Honest communication. Hope for our future together. Later that afternoon, as the family prepared to return to the mainland, Isabel hugged me tightly. Thank you for giving us the most beautiful wedding imaginable. But more than that, thank you for giving our family a second chance. Thank you for welcoming me back into it. I smiled. Thank you for being my family always. As the helicopter lifted off with my family aboard, I stood on the beach and watched them disappear into the sky. Tomorrow, we would begin the real work of rebuilding our relationships. There would be awkward conversations, learning new things, and probably some missteps along the way. But for the first time in years, I felt like I had my family back. And that was worth more than all the business success in the world. My phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. Thank you for everything, but mostly thank you for being the sister we didn't deserve, but somehow got lucky enough to have. I smiled, looking out at the ocean, and typed back, thank you for being my family always.